Hey everyone, it's me, Mrs. Kline again. Thank you for joining in to another program. Today we're going to talk about risk taking and alternatives. So let me share my screen with you and we will get started. You may want to grab a pencil and a piece of paper. We're going to take a little quiz in a little while, so you might want to have that ready so you can write down your answers and then get a score for that. All right, so let's get started. Running ahead of the risk, the road to healthy alternatives. So I guess we should start by defining what is risk. When we think about risk, it is something that is unknown, right? The outcome is unknown. It's us taking a chance, and we usually understand, at least as we grow older, is the possibility of negative consequences to taking a risk. Every decision we make involves some sort of risk, whether it's an ordinary or mundane risk, something that we do every day. It involves some level of risk. For example, you go out to a restaurant and you order food. Doesn't seem like a big risk, right? We order food every day, but you're not making the food. You have no idea, will the food turn out good? Would it be something that you would like? So even little everyday decisions involve some sort of risk. Now, are all risks unhealthy? Absolutely not. Taking risks can push us out of our comfort zone. It helps us to try new things. We reach goals, we gain confidence. We can learn from mistakes. We need to take risk in order to meet new people, to form relationships, take jobs, go to school, go to college. So we need to take risk in order to develop some form of a healthy lifestyle. In taking risk, we need to determine, is the risk reasonable, unreasonable, or is it healthy, or is it unhealthy for me? If we are talking about healthy risk, these are risks that will be safe and legal. It will help us to reach some form of a goal. Or is it a risk that is unhealthy, which could potentially cause me or somebody else harm? So in determining healthy, unhealthy risk, it's first good to understand, what is your risk-taking style? So here we're going to take a little quiz. So if you get a piece of paper and a pen, I'm going to read a question, and then you need to decide which action you would choose, A, B, or C. Number 1, your friend wants to go skydiving for his birthday. You A, decline and watch a movie at home. B, join the party but stay on the ground and video the event. Or C, you are the first one out of the plane. Number 2, you have an exam at 8 a.m. tomorrow and a party to attend tonight. You A, stay home to study. You study before the party and stay until your curfew, so you can go home and get some sleep before the exam tomorrow. Or C, you skip the studying and party until the exam starts. Question number 3, you're walking to your friend's house for dinner and you're really late. At the intersection, the crossing signal changes from walk to don't walk. You A, stop at the hand. You always stop at the hand. B, stop and wait. You're late anyway. Or C, sprint across the intersection and hope for the best. Question number 4, you're feeling gutsy lately, so you dye your hair a wild color. Then you remember your very traditional grandmother is coming to visit. So you A, immediately dye it back. B, wear a hat to spare your granny's heart. Or C, add a turquoise streak and declare your right to being an individual. Question 5, you're trying to get to the lodge at the top of the mountain, and there are 3 routes to choose from. Which route do you take? A, the longest route that follows the well-lit paved road. B, a quicker route that takes you through the woods, but you have to scale bluffs on the side of the mountain. Or C, the quickest route that crosses a rickety bridge over the canyon. Question 6, tonight is the school talent show. You are A, watching safely from the audience. B, waiting backstage to perform a lip sync to your favorite song with your friends. Or C, backstage eagerly waiting to perform your solo act. Question number 7. You're out having a great time with your friends, and they suggest going to grab something to eat. You want to go, but you will probably miss your curfew. So you A, go home immediately. You never miss curfew. B, contact your parents in hopes of securing more time out with friends. Or C, think curfew schmurfew, pancakes at midnight rule. Okay, and the last question, number 8. Your friends invite you to go on a summer backpacking trip across a foreign country. You know nothing about it. You A, decline the offer and spend the summer watching reruns of your favorite show. B, spend time researching the country before giving your friend an answer. Or C, pack your bags and tell your parents goodbye. Okay, so first let's score. For every A answer you gave, you give yourself 1 point. For every B, you give yourself 2 points. And for every C, give yourself 3 points. And then total up your all of your points. I'll give you a minute or two to do that. Okay, let's go over your risk-taking style. So for those of you who scored 8 to 11 points, your cautious approach to risk could keep you from new experiences and new relationships. It's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them and keep working to get it right. If you scored 12 to 20 points, your measured approach to risk takes you out of your comfort zone but keeps you out of obvious danger. You will have fun in life and make great progress as you push yourself to new things. Now, if you scored 21 to 24 points, your impulsive approach to risk could get you into trouble. Your desire for an extreme adrenaline rush may lift you up, but in the end could leave you flat. So it's very important to understand what kind of risk taker you are. A lot of this has to do with our experiences and our genetics that determine what type of person we are. It's not that any one of these categories are wrong. I think each one has, their pros and their cons. But in the end, it's good to have some type of balance. It's good to take risk, but it really comes down to weighing all of the consequences, right? You need to weigh the benefits and the negative consequences before making a decision that is right for you. Is this a risk that you want to take? And this sometimes comes with age and maturity. A lot of times, the younger we are, because the brain is not fully developed, we tend to rush right in and we may be more impulsive and take more risk. But the best part about the brain, and we'll talk about this a little bit, is you're going to learn from those mistakes so that you can do things better the next time. So what's the risk? Right? So let's talk about that, the positives and the negatives in taking a risk. So the risk is introducing yourself to someone new. What would be some of the positives in doing that? Meeting new people, putting yourself out there. Yes, we could meet someone great. We can build new relationships. We can make contacts as we get older. We want to advance in our career and things like that, even getting internships. Being able to take a risk and putting yourself out there can have lots of positive benefits. Now, what are the risks? Well, the risk would be that maybe they don't like you, or you could be rejected, or it could be a little awkward. Right? So it's for you to determine which do the positives outweigh the negatives. Okay, what's the risk? Taking up an extreme sport like snowboarding, bungee jumping. What are the positives? Yes, it could be fun. It's excitement. We get exercise. It builds strength. But what are the negatives? Well, you could be afraid, embarrassment of failing, and there could be accidents. You could get hurt. Again, knowing yourself, knowing your body. What are you willing to do? Do you like, that rush? Or are you fine with, you know, regular exercise and sports? Is this something that you're willing to take a risk on? What's the risk? Admitting that your opinion is different from the people you want to be accepted by the most. What are the benefits to that? What are the positives to taking that risk and putting yourself out there, going against the popular opinion? And this sometimes is very hard to do, right? It's very easy to conform to popular opinion because nobody wants to be that outsider. The benefits to doing this is that you can make a difference in the world. You can change, you might not always change people's opinions, but you can maybe get them thinking about new things. It can open up the conversation to change. You can feel good about yourself that you are able to stand up for what you believe in. And you never know, your friends could accept you for who you are. And if they're your friends, they will accept you for having your own thoughts and your opinions. On the downside, you may lose friends and it could start arguments and you may feel alone. And sometimes it's very hard to do the right thing because we might become an outsider from our friends. And then we're taking a risk again because then we have to maybe find, new friends that maybe share the same opinions that we do. But whether we share the same opinions or differing opinions doesn't mean we can't all treat each other with respect. It's okay to have different opinions, but you should not be afraid to speak up and tell people how you are feeling. All right, what's the risk? Taking an illegal street drug for the feeling of the excitement and the danger. So, are there any positives to doing that? Sure. People wouldn't do drugs or alcohol if it didn't make them feel good. So, it may make that person feel good for a little while, and friends might think that they're cool. But then, what are the negatives? Yes, people get sick, there's death, and you could get in trouble at home or at school. It's all about understanding while we're weighing the risk and the benefits and the consequences to taking a risk. It's good to know that we have alternatives, especially when we're talking about drugs and alcohol. For all the reasons that teens and adults find to use, there will always be plenty of alternatives to using. It's all going to come down to having good decision-making skills. Before making any decision, we need to stop and think. We need to think about the risk, the pros, the cons, and we need to consider all of our alternatives. We won't always get it right, but that's okay because that's part of the beauty of this frontal lobe that we have, right? The brain doesn't become fully developed until we're in our mid-20s. And the last part to be fully developed is this frontal lobe, that part of our brain that is, helping us make good decisions, that part of the brain that says, hey, you need to stop, you need to think a little bit, right? But the more you do this, the more you trust in that process, you will automatically start to stop and think. And it only takes a few seconds to really run through pros, cons, what can happen here. The more you do that, right, the stronger this frontal lobe becomes, right? But the best part about the frontal lobe is that it helps you to remember decisions that weren't always the best, right? It helps you to remember, you know what, that didn't work out for me the last time. So this next time I'm going to do things a little differently, right? So our brain is able to help us learn from our past mistakes so that we can do things better the next time. So let's talk about some do-overs. I'm going to read a story, and then we need to determine what were the reasons for using, right? And from that reason, what are healthy alternatives? So story number 1, where there's smoke, there's fire. I can still remember the first time I smoked a cigarette. Several of my friends and I would get together on Friday nights. We really didn't do much except play video games or watch movies. But one Friday night, someone bought a pack of cigarettes. I didn't really want to try one because I had seen all of the gross things that happen to people when they smoke. But soon everyone was smoking, and when they were telling me to try it, I didn't want to feel left out. So I lit one up. The first puff made me cough. That was 3 years ago, and now I smoke almost a pack a day. I wish I could quit because the friends I hang out with now don't smoke. I'm always on the outside looking in. So, what was the reason for using? Yes, right? They wanted to fit in, they wanted to belong. So, in order to fit in or to belong, what are some alternatives? If we're feeling like we want to be a part of a group or, everybody wants friends. Nobody wants to, be out there all alone. It's good to have friends and support. So, if you're looking to do that, what are some alternatives then to giving in to smoking or doing other drugs? Yes, you could join a club or a sports team. You can hang with friends who don't smoke, or you could volunteer, organize community events, right? You want to find people that are going to be positive influences on your life. Okay, very good. Story number 2, missed opportunity. I was so excited about prom. Most of my friends weren't going because we are only sophomores, but my boyfriend is a senior. He organized an entire evening of fun for me. He arrived at my house, picked me up in a limo. All of his friends were inside, and they started the evening by doing shots of liquor. I felt a little uncomfortable being the only sophomore in the group, and I did not want them to think I was just a kid. So I decided to drink a shot too. That shot quickly turned into 3, then to 4. Before I knew it, I could barely see. When we arrived at the restaurant for dinner, I could hardly walk. My boyfriend stayed with me in the limo where I slept through dinner and the prom. When I woke up the next morning, I was at home. I am in so much trouble. My parents are furious, and my boyfriend won't talk to me. I never even made it to my prom. What was her reason for using? Yeah, she wanted to feel older. So and that's common, especially when we're starting, in when you're going from middle school to high school or high school to college, you're like, you have to start at the bottom and we want to feel older. We see kids being able to do so many more things and we want to be a part of that. But if you want to feel older rather than, drinking or, doing other like drugs or vaping and things like that, what are some healthy ways in order to help yourself feel older? Yes, you could take a part-time job, right? Make you feel that you're like contributing, whether it's to your home or to your savings. You could take on more responsibility at home or school, and you could set long-term goals for yourself. Story number 3, failure is not an option. I was really nervous about an upcoming exam. I studied, but I needed to ace this test to keep my B average in the class. It was all I could think about. I told one of my friends about how stressed I was. She told me that her mom takes pills for anxiety and she could grab me some if I wanted. I figured it might help. She showed up the next morning with the pills. I took one and went to take my exam. During the exam, I started to get very sleepy and I couldn't keep my eyes open. The next thing I knew, my teacher was waking me up and telling me class was over. It was time to turn in the exam, and I had only answered 4 questions. So, what was her reason for using? Yes, she was stressed. She wanted to relax. What are some healthy alternatives besides using pills, especially pills that aren't prescribed to us in order to relax? Yes, we could play sports or exercise. We could watch a movie, listen to music, talk with friends, write in a journal. I think it's very important to know how these sorts of pills they work on the body. She was given a pill that put her to sleep. Obviously, if that young woman had understood that that type of pill would have done that, she wouldn't have taken it, right? Um, so it's very important to understand, why, we're only supposed to take medicine that is prescribed to us because, we're going to be able to know how it works, with our body. So there's lots of other ways that if we're feeling stressed and we need to relax, there's tons of other ways and alternatives that we can use, which we actually will talk about further a little bit. Story number 4, strong to the finish. A few months ago, I hurt my knee in a wrestling match. I went to the doctor and she said it was bruised. She told me to rest and ice my knee. She also said to take ibuprofen for the pain. My knee started to feel a little better, but I needed it to feel 100% before my next match. I knew one of my teammates recently had dental surgery and would probably have something stronger for the pain. When I asked if he had anything that might help, he said he had a whole bottle of painkillers. He hadn't taken many because he didn't like the way they made him feel. He gave me the rest of the pills. As soon as I started taking the pills, my knee felt better. I continued to take the pills for about 2 weeks. Then, when I ran out of pills, I thought everything would be fine. But as soon as I stopped taking them, I didn't feel right. I started feeling restless and anxious all the time. I felt sick to my stomach and had trouble sleeping. My muscles ached more than normal. All right, so what was the reason for using? Yes, to treat an injury or sometimes illness. So, what are some alternatives to doing that? Obviously, this person was not prescribed those pills. He had no idea, or she had no idea how their body was going to react to them. They had no idea the dangers of taking prescription pain medicine, especially for long periods of time without doctor supervision. And as we see, some of the consequences to that is this person obviously started to become physically dependent and was developing an addiction to those pills. That sickness in the stomach, that aching, anxious, the restlessness, that is all symptoms of going through withdrawal from a prescription opioid or a pain medicine. So, what would have been some healthy alternatives? Yes, getting rest, eat healthy, see a doctor, right? Physical therapist. If they were still in pain and the knee wasn't getting better, they should have went to the doctor or, talk to their parents. They could have got a massage or talk to the psychologist. All right, story number 5. What goes around? What goes around comes around. I was catching up with some of my friends after I got back from family vacation. They were talking about this wild party they went to. They said they tried cocaine at the party. I had heard horror stories about cocaine and thought they were crazy for trying it. Hearing them talk about it, I began to wonder what it would really feel like. Was everything I had heard about the drug really true? A few days later, my friend told me he had some cocaine. I still wasn't sure if it was a good idea to try, but I found myself asking him where he got it. He told me about a kid at school who could score almost anything. The next week, I met up with that kid at school. He told me he could hook me up no problem. As I was walking away with the cocaine in my pocket, 3 cops jumped out of nowhere and surrounded us. Apparently, they had been watching this kid and were waiting for the right opportunity to bust him. I guess I was that opportunity because they arrested me for possession. What was their reason for using? Yes, to satisfy curiosity. And this one is a hard one. Obviously, it did not work out for the teen in our story. She ended up getting, caught for buying and was arrested for possession. The cons clearly outweighed positives in this scenario. When you're curious, sometimes the only way to satisfy curiosity, so we think, is to actually do it and find out how it feels. So this one may be a little tough and a little bit harder to buy into, but there are healthy alternatives if we're feeling curious. And a lot of that could be like researching the drug or talk to somebody who has used before, who may have developed a substance use disorder and what they have gone through. You can interview a doctor or talk to an addiction specialist or somebody like myself who is a prevention specialist, somebody who may have a little bit more insight to using these sorts of drugs. You could visit a rehabilitation center or do some volunteer work, right? And I know it may not seem the same, but getting a lot of research and kind of knowing more about a certain drug, you may then come to the conclusion that obviously the benefits to not using clearly outweigh the benefits to maybe using, which could be, maybe feeling good at that one particular time. There's a lot more cons to using, obviously, than positives. All right, and our last one, wasted time. My parents grounded me for the entire weekend just because I didn't come home after school to watch my little sister. I was supposed to go watch a movie at a friend's house Saturday night. When I told her I was grounded, she said, just sneak out. I never snuck out of the house before. It sounded risky, but kind of fun. That night, my parents went to sleep. I snuck out of the house and went to my friend's house. There were other kids there I didn't know. They were getting high and asked me if I wanted to join in. I thought to myself, why not? Tonight is all about taking risk. They passed me the joint. At first, I really didn't feel much, but then I started to feel pretty strange and it freaked me out. I felt like everything was moving in slow motion and that I was looking at myself from outside my body. I wasn't sure what was going to happen next. I remember thinking this risk wasn't worth it. All right, so what was their reason for using? To take a risk, to rebel. There's sometimes there's this rush that we feel from really stepping out of the norm and taking a risk and doing something that we've never done before. But again, we have to it's that balance, that weighing is, the pros and the cons, right? So what are some healthy alternatives if you want to feel that rush, you want to take a risk, what can you do? You could zip line, you could skydive, you could go whitewater rafting or scuba diving, right? Extreme sports, perform in a play, ask somebody out, right? You really want to make sure there's legal ways to get that risk, right? There's lots of things that you can do that can give you that rush without the potential of you getting in trouble at home or at school or with the law. Excellent. Good job. So let's talk about all of these alternatives to relaxing and stress and, some alternatives to even using to making us feel good. One of the things that people practice is something called mindfulness or, meditation. And there's two that I want us to go through. So this is like a guided progressive muscle relaxation where this person is going to lead you through tensing your muscles and relaxing your muscles. The idea is if you know what tense feels like, the relaxation is going to feel so much better. So I'm going to play this for you. You can just, get comfortable. You're at home, so you can lay down, right? And just kind of follow along. It's about like 8 minutes long.
Progressive muscle relaxation is an exercise that reduces stress and anxiety in your body by having you slowly tense and then relax each muscle. This exercise can provide an immediate feeling of relaxation, but it's best to practice frequently. With experience, you will become more aware of when you are experiencing tension. You will have the skills to help you relax. During this exercise, each muscle should be tense, but not to the point of strength. If you have any injuries or pain, you can skip the affected area. Pay special attention to the feeling of releasing tension in each muscle, the resulting feeling of relaxation. Let's begin. Sit back or lie down in a comfortable position. Shut your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. Begin by taking a deep breath and noticing the feeling of air filling your lungs. Hold your breath for a few seconds. Release the breath slowly and let the tension leave your body. Take in another deep breath and hold it. Again, slowly release the air. Even slower now, take another breath. Fill your lungs and hold the air. Slowly release the breath and imagine the feeling of tension leaving your body. Continue breathing slowly throughout this exercise. Try to focus on the feeling of air filling and leaving your lungs. It will be normal for your mind to wander. When it does, do your best to bring it back to the moment. Now, move your attention to your feet. Begin to tense your feet by curling your toes in the arch of your foot. Hold on to the tension and notice what it feels like. Release the tension in your foot. Notice the new feeling of relaxation. Next, begin to focus on your lower leg. Tense the muscles in your calves. Hold them tightly and pay attention to the feeling of tension. Release the tension from your lower legs. Again, notice the feeling of relaxation. Remember to continue taking deep breaths. Next, tense the muscles of your upper leg and pelvis. You can do this by tightly squeezing your thighs together. Make sure you feel tenseness without going to the point of strain. And release. Feel the tension leave your muscles. Begin to tense your stomach and chest. You can do this by sucking your stomach in. Squeeze harder and hold the tension. Release the tension. Allow your body to go limp. Let yourself notice the feeling of relaxation. Continue taking deep breaths. Breathe in slowly, noticing the air fill your lungs, and hold it. Release the air slowly. Feel it leaving your lungs. Next, tense the muscles in your back by bringing your shoulders together behind you. Hold them tightly. Tense them as hard as you can without straining, and keep holding. Release the tension from your back. Feel the tension slowly leaving your body, and the new feeling of relaxation taking its place. Notice how different your body feels when you allow it to relax. Tense your arms all the way from your hands to your shoulders. Make a fist and squeeze all the way up your arm. Hold it. Release the tension from your arms and shoulders. Notice the feeling of relaxation in your fingers, hands, arms, and shoulders. Notice how your arms feel limp and at ease. Move up to your neck and your head. Tense your face and your neck by distorting the muscles around your eyes and mouth. Release the tension. Again, notice the new feeling of relaxation. Finally, tense your entire body. Your feet, legs, stomach, chest, arms, head, and neck. Tense harder without straining. Hold on to the tension. Now release. Allow your whole body to go limp. Pay attention to the feeling of relaxation and how different it is from the feeling of tension. Continue taking deep breaths. Wake your body up by slowly moving your muscles. Adjust your arms and legs. Stretch your muscles and open your eyes when you're ready.
So that was one form of meditation that guided, deep muscle relaxation. A lot of times people shy away from meditating or that mindfulness because they think that they can't do it, that it's too difficult. And I get it. I have a mind that never stops racing. It's constantly thinking about something, and it never seems to be quiet. But I don't know if you're familiar with the hip hop mogul, record label mogul, Russell Simmons. He wrote a book called Success Through Stillness, Meditation Made Simple. And he said that anybody can meditate. It's all about commitment. And at first you start out just committing to 1 minute, maybe, or 2 minutes, right? And then after a month, maybe you're committing to 4 minutes or 5 minutes, and then 10 minutes. And basically it's just that, that you set your phone, or maybe you listen to some music and you just commit to just 2 minutes, right? If a thought comes in, you just, bring it back to your breathing. Or in this case, I have some hip hop meditation I want you to listen to. It's different. It's not for everybody, but I like to do this. And sometimes when my mind, thoughts start to come in, I just focus on the beat, right? So I want to play a couple minutes of this for you.
Come on, you never let me down, 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 down.
All right, I'm going to end it there. That's 2.5 minutes. So very good. All right, then just real quick, some other alternatives. There's no one right or wrong answer to, finding what the right behavior or action or activity is to do for, helping you relax or deal with stress. It's whatever, everybody's different. So it's whatever you find works for you. Some people like to dance. Music, right? And music is so great because you can listen to different types of music depending on your feeling or your mood or what's happening. Maybe you want to listen to something real hard, because you're angry and you want to work through those feelings. Or maybe you want to listen to something, I don't know, sad because you're feeling blue and you want to work through those feelings, right? So music is a good way to kind of figure out and acknowledging what we're feeling and working through those feelings. Some people like to exercise or eat right can help, with keeping our body in balance and feeling good. Or some people like to read. So whatever that action is for you, you should be doing, and make sure you do that every day, so that when you are in a real state of stress and anxiety, your body, your mind's going to automatically go to what it is that, helps you feel better. And lastly, I just wanted to touch on, what do we do when our friends choose to use, right? Sometimes that happens. We have friends that, for whatever reason, they decide that they want to start using, whether it's even just simple as vaping, or maybe it's marijuana, or drinking, or, taking pills. What can we do? First, it's very important to recognize, to understand that it is not your responsibility to make somebody stop using. Right? It is the only thing you can do is to show them that you care and encourage them and support them in what they need. Okay. And you need to ask for help, right? Ask somebody to help you, give you guidance. You don't necessarily have to tell on that person, but you can ask for help and ask for guidance. But, keep in mind, using drugs and alcohol, especially in a young age, it can be very dangerous to the body. So if you believe that a friend is, spiraling out of control, they may be angry, but you may want to tell somebody because you care for them and you want them to get help. But please remember, it's not your responsibility to make them do anything. It's just, as a friend, you're just there to encourage and support. There's lots of places that you can go to get help if you need it, and you don't even have to tell people like who you are or who the person is. There is a national substance use disorder and mental health hotline that you can call. This 1-800-662-HELP or 4357. You can call us at the Council on Chemical Abuse, 610-376-8669. You can text are you okay to 484-816-7865 or 484-816 are you okay. That's the Are You Okay Burke's number. It's more for like teen suicide and things like that, but you can definitely call if you're, if you have a problem, somebody else has a problem. You can call 211, which is our local resource guide. You can call them and tell them you're looking for, a specific agency or number to get help, and they will give it to you. That's local. You can talk to your parents or counselors, the student assistance program, school nurse, pastor, maybe it's even another friend. There's lots of people that are there that love you and can help you, whether it's you or somebody else that you need help for. And then there's our website, www.cocaburks.org, and there you can find more resources if you need them. So thank you for tuning in and listening to me out here in Zoom land. I hope that you learned a little bit about risk taking, what kind of risk taker you are. But more importantly, I hope that you took away some alternatives. There's lots of alternatives out there to using, and hopefully you gain some confidence to always do the right thing. If not, you can always reach out to me, A. Kline, at cocaburks.org, or go to our website or reference any of those numbers that we saw at the end. All right. Thank you.